Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back. So today I am doing a Pinball A Movie feature on the title and film called Twister. Now, I really like this film. I think it aged well for 1996, and it's just a really good movie overall. So in this video, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the film, give you some general facts, my thoughts, some interesting things about the movie, and then we'll talk about the pinball table, and then I'll even have gameplay for you. So, this movie, I was not expecting it to be as good as I thought it was. I was kind of putting it off for a while, because there are quite a few pinball tables based on movies, and this is one that I think a lot of people kind of forget, that Twister was a pinball table from Sega. And I think it's because it was from Sega, people kind of forget that about this table also. But let's talk about the movie itself. So the movie Twister officially released in 1996 in theaters, and the genre was American disaster thriller, which is a pretty interesting genre when you think about it. There's a lot of movies on disasters. Some good, some bad. Not any that I could think about that off the top of my head. Maybe Deep Impact was that one about a tsunami, but it's been a genre that a lot of directors have chosen to revisit. I think it's because it's such a, Mother Nature, and the unpredictability of Mother Nature really does well with audiences worldwide. I think because it's something that everyone can relate to. Natural disaster from Mother Nature happens everywhere, right? So it's almost like a universal phenomena. The director of the movie was a man named Jean Debon. I think I'm pronouncing it right. I don't know. But he was chosen to direct this. Steven Spielberg was one of the executive producers of this film, and he chose Jean Debon because of how successful he was in directing the movie called Speed with Keanu Reeves. I don't think there's a speed table pinball machine, but it would be cool idea. There's actually a lot of movies that you wonder how come they weren't made into pinball tables. They could still do it. I mean, I'm thinking Stern could still make one like it. Just depends. So the director is Jean Debon, and the screenplay was written by a man named Michael Crichton and a woman named Anna Marie Martin. I was reading that it was a pretty expensive screenplay. I think the producers bought it for around $2 million at the time, so very expensive. I've mentioned that Steven Spielberg was an executive producer of the film. Cast was pretty good. You had Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton, Jami Gertz, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Alan Ruck. Alan Ruck was, you probably know him from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was Ferris's friend. I recently just saw that movie too, so that's why I was like, hey, I know that guy. So that is the answer. I have a post alluding to this. So Alan Ruck was in it as well. Also, it was one of the first films to go to DVD in the US, which is interesting, because I kind of think about it. Why this movie? It was released in 1996, probably because it was released in 96 and it was very successful. And so that's probably why they chose it to go to DVD right away, because they knew people were probably going to buy it. It also was a box office success, grossing nearly $495 million in 96, which was the second highest film in that year. So pretty big, because a lot of good movies came out in 96. So to be able to come out in second is huge. There's also going to be, which I didn't know about, a standalone sequel called Twisters will be releasing in July of 2024. So pretty close from now. And so when you watch this movie, one of the things that you see are these, what they call the Dorothy modules. So these Dorothy canisters in the movie are what these storm chasers are trying to release inside the center of the tornado. And so the Dorothy, it's called the Dorothy modules, and the actual modules are based on a device called Toto, which was used to research tornadoes in the 1980s. So a lot of the Wizard of Oz references. Also interesting, Tom Hanks was supposed to take the role of Bill Harding, but instead gave it to Bill Paxton. Bill Paxton did a good job in this role. I always like it when the name of the character is, the first name is the same as the actor's first name. I think it's just cool that, like that, kind of makes it more realistic. And so let me talk about the legacy of the film. There is a pinball table, as we'll see. There was also a theme park attraction located in Universal Studios, Florida, that opened in 1998 and closed in 2015. But it was called Twister Ride It Out. There was also a book tie-in, but the book tie-in was basically word for word the actual screenplay. So I would highly recommend seeing this movie. I think it aged really well. The special effects. It's one of those movies that I think would have been really good to have seen in movie theaters. Just because the special effects, seeing them in 2024, still are pretty cool. Seeing the thunder, the wind, the tornadoes. So you get a lot of good special effects. And what I liked about this movie was not only was there, I think the concept and phenomena of tornadoes themselves. As you watch the movie, if you don't know anything about tornadoes, it's the kind of movie that makes you want to Google or want to research more about them. And that's what I found myself doing. I wanted to know how tornadoes are formed, where they usually strike. And so this movie has so many things going for it because it's just so interesting and it's kind of realistic in a sense, right? It's not, some scenes were over the top, especially towards the end. But a lot of the facts are actually about tornadoes. So that's basically what the movie is about. It's basically about a group of storm chasers. These storm chasers are trying to study, are literally chasing a storm, a tornado, and trying to study it by releasing these sensors so that they can get data about the pressure, the moisture within the center, the core of the tornado. So that's the general gist of the movie. And there is a little side story with love, which is kind of interesting because I think they did that side story pretty well as well. So you get a little bit of romance, not too heavy though on that, but you definitely get that tornado thriller in there. And so it just made me want to Google how they're formed, what kind of safety precautions people take. And, there's a lot of allusions to tornadoes and Mother Nature. The saying, the calm before the storm, right? Usually that's what, there's the sky is still before a storm happens, before the clouds gather. Also a lot of people say that love itself, relationships are like a whirlwind, right? It's unpredictable. So there's a lot of kind of allusions you can make. Storm chasing kind of like when you're chasing storms, it's like when you're chasing women. So I've made all these kind of allusions as I watched, and I just love movies that make you think like that. It made you, concepts of Mother Nature, how unpredictable it is. How sometimes people will say, oh, he or she is like the weather, right? In terms of their mood. But yeah, so that's basically what this movie's about. Storm chasers. Storm chasers are adrenaline junkies that, chase any kind of natural phenomena, not just tornadoes, but whatever dangerous natural disaster you can think about, tsunamis, tidal waves. And they're very real. I mean, you have amateur groups like you did in this movie, and then you have actual scientists and weather forecasters with land with grant money, doing research. So there's still that kind of division there, which you also see in the movie. Let's see here. It also, when I was watching this movie, you think about how nature can be both beautiful and ugly, right? Nature itself, the beauty in nature is, it's kind of a little bit of its unpredictability, right? We don't really know. I mean, our technology has advanced where we can predict a lot of weather patterns, but it's still, to a large degree, very, very unpredictable. Even tornadoes themselves can be hard to predict, when they'll start, where they're heading. So, and it's always, you want to respect Mother Nature. You don't want to test it too much, which you've definitely seen in this movie. These storm chasers are testing their boundaries, really. The only thing I did not like about this movie was a little bit towards the end, where it was over the top. Like, I don't want to ruin anything if you haven't seen it, but it was just a little over the top, where some scenes they could have probably done away with, and it would have still been good. So that's really what I've written down in my notes. I do want to say that the movie does begin well, has a strong beginning as well, so it really pulls you in like a storm or tornado would. Keeps your interest for the most part. Kept my interest. So in the movie, you also kind of learn about some scientific terms like the Fujita scale. So the Fujita scale measures the strength of tornadoes from, I think it's F0 to F5. Let me see here. I think it is F0 to F5. So a weak F0 tornado would be wind gusts between 65 to 85 miles per hour, and F5 is the strongest with wind scales over 200 miles per hour. I myself, fortunately, have never been in any kind of hurricane or tornado situation, but I just can't imagine how scary that must be to actually live through it or go through it. But as a kid, even in my school, we'd do tornado drills where we would get under the desk and they'd ask us to put our hands and arms over our neck because, to protect from any projectiles, hitting our neck. So that was what I remember in school. We don't really have a lot of tornadoes where I am, so that's unfortunate in that sense. Let's see, what else can I say? So we already discussed the Fujita scale, which talks about the wind speeds of the tornadoes. So there is, I researched because I wanted to see where they occur mostly. So they mostly occur in a place called Tornado Alley, but it's not really clearly defined because they're so unpredictable. But in the map, you can see a lot of the tornadoes in Tornado Alley are in Midwest states, Oklahoma, Texas. This movie takes place in Oklahoma in a town called Waukita. And so there's even a mini series called Tornado Chasers. So if you're interested in tornadoes or storm chasers, you could give that a watch. Tornadoes usually originate from the energy developed in thunderstorms. So when you have a thunderstorm, you have a lot of heat rising, and then you have cold air falling. And so when that happens, you have a lot of movement inside the clouds in a thunderstorm. And so that movement occurs within the clouds in the thunderstorms, and usually they're horizontal, but a tornado happens when all that movement of the clouds becomes vertical. And that's what tornadoes, they're a vertical stream of wind, twisting wind, right? They can also be hard to predict. But we have technology today that can look inside of the clouds to predict tornadoes with cloud motions, moisture, those kind of things. And so also I remember in class that the Midwest is subject to the Midwest in the United States, where Tornado Alley is the reason why a lot of tornadoes happen there is because where it's situated, a lot of cold air comes from the far north, and then you have warm, humid air from the Gulf of Mexico. And so when you have that mixture of cold air and warm, humid air, that's the recipe for tornadoes, for thunderstorms, and then to give energy to tornadoes. So yeah, I just find all this stuff really interesting to me about tornadoes themselves. Just looking at them, the way they spiral, how they've been depicted in film. Just really crazy and awesome phenomena of Mother Nature. But I don't want to go too much into the scientific part of it. I just kind of wanted to give everyone a little bit of information about the tornado itself. Let me just read here, though. This was the best answer I could find to sum up the answer for what causes tornadoes. So it says, a tornado forms from a large thunderstorm. Inside thunderclouds, warm, humid air rises while cool air falls. Sometimes you can get rain or hail. These conditions can cause a spinning air current inside the cloud. Although the spinning currents start out horizontal, they can turn vertical and drop down from the cloud, becoming a tornado. So that's really interesting. All right, so I think I've discussed everything I wrote in my notes that I wanted to talk about. I mean, I could spend hours talking about this movie and tornadoes. But now let's talk about the pinball machine. So Twister Pinball was released from Sega that same year. I think it released along with the movie. So kind of like a tie-in with the book, or like McDonald's Happy Meal. This table was released to kind of coincide with the release of the movie. It was designed by a man named John Borg. Now, when I was looking at this machine, I couldn't help but think of Williams Whirlwind, designed by Pat Lawler. Because on the Twister Pinball machine, on the topper is also a fan, just like you had in Whirlwind, to simulate wind. And also on the playfield, you have a spinning disc to kind of simulate like a tornado. About 1,000 machines were produced, and also some of the toys on the table include the Dorothy canister that you saw in the movie, and the artwork includes scenes and characters from the movie as well. But yeah, I couldn't help but think about Whirlwind. I wonder if Sega and the people who worked on Twister got any, were inspired by Whirlwind, which released years, I think 6 years or a couple of years before. And you just think the topper idea is the same thing. But when you look at the artwork of Whirlwind, you just can't help but think. I think the artwork is a Storm Chaser too. So, lot of similarities between these two tables in terms of design and theme. So, thank you for listening to me, and I hope you enjoyed and learned something. And following this will be the gameplay of the table. Until next time. So one of my favorite parts about Pinball A Movie is not only watching the movie, but playing the table. So this version is from Uncle Polly on VP Universe. And as you can see on the very top left, that's the Dorothy canister that was used in the film. So that was the thing they were trying to use to release weather sensors inside the tornado. You also see that, I think that 18-wheeler or that big truck in the movie. And then on the table itself, the artwork are scenes from the movie, the cast. You can see there Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton. I see Jami Gertz character and the rival Storm Chaser with the sunglasses. And then you have the other Storm Chasers in the background. Let's go here. So look there, you have that spinning disc. Wow, no way. Ball safe, thank you. And so you hear the little, I think there is like that scream. You have actual, I think, sound bites from the movie. Oh no! Check it out too. You have a peg in the center. And you see on the ramp, on the right ramp, you see there's a little toy. That is, I believe, the sensor that they were using to deploy within the tornado. Oh, come on. Whoa! You see how the disc interacted with the ball there. It makes it really unpredictable. Just like a tornado. Oh, come on. That was a bad game. That was a warm-up, though. Go again. Let's hit that left orbit. Oh, now it's on the right. So it's switching the orbits. There we go. Oh, look at that. It even shows like how fast the ball was going. Or in this case, the tornado. A ramp shot. Whoa! Okay, we got a multi-ball here. Okay, we have to hit that inside that scoop there. Oh! No! The tornado got me. And look at the artwork on the spinners. That's what you can, like that wind dial. Love that little touch. See that on the DMD as well? I think I'm doing better than last time though. Whoa, spoke too soon. Well guys, thank you for watching me play Twister in this episode of Pinball A Movie. Highly suggest you see the movie and try out the table yourself. This is a good version from Uncle Polly. Until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Take care.